Hello and welcome back to the Business Success Podcast with myself, Adriana, and
Jonathan Keeble.
Thank you very much for tuning in and watching and listening. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about human resources, HR, and why for a lot of businesses, it really should be a much bigger focus than it is. HR is obviously very important in any business, isn't it? It's about your people.
I'm surprised in actual fact, how HR gets booted down down sort of the level of importance or the to do. Everyone's very keen about starting your business because we all start off as entrepreneurs, and then obviously we look at the technical side and then how do we manage that business, and we focus very much on that. But we don't spend enough time actually thinking about how to improve our people.
Yeah,
and so HR plays a really important part of that. And I think a lot of people do one or two things. They either wing it or they actually try and outsource it.
Yeah.
And by sometimes outsourcing, what they do is they're giving away control or understanding of actually how to run their people. And they may only use HR when there's a problem. Or there's a grievance being placed, or being made. So the thing is, HR is very much about people. It's also about employment law, and that's where a lot of businesses get stuck.
Okay.
And where they actually don't have the right information, and where they can get themselves into a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Also, there's policies that need to be implemented because everyone needs to have an understanding when they come into work what the rules of the game are.
Yeah.
All right. And
that's why contracts are important.
Exactly.
So
and
contracts, rules of the game, what's expected.
And if you're employing someone, it only makes sense that you get a contract of employment done.
Okay.
And that actually lays out what the rules are. And if you've got a team, you should also have a staff handbook.
Yeah.
And of course, by having sort of a focus on the people, because we're coming out of with the COVID and the issues with that, and we had furlough, and we've actually had a lot of people who've not worked for some time, then come back into work, and they've probably either forgotten or they've brought in bad habits, or they want to change their role. And a lot of businesses, and it's not helped with Brexit either, that a lot of businesses are finding it hard to actually get their people back into doing the job role that they initially did before COVID.
Yeah.
And what with Brexit, and we haven't got a vast number of people from overseas helping us in employment, what we're finding is that it's really hard to find the right people for the right jobs.
Yes.
And that's particularly with the trades.
We've seen that.
Exactly. You try to find an electrician or a plumber or a roofer, a tiler, a carpenter, a plumber. All these sort of people are like gold dust.
Yeah.
And of course, companies who want to actually grow, they can't necessarily find extra people in those trades.
Yeah.
So they're thinking about, what shall I do? And then they think, I've got to train someone. You just can't train someone that quickly in a trade. So going down the apprenticeship route is a good idea. But obviously what people are doing, they're growing too fast, and the apprenticeship is not actually resolving the immediate demand for the work, and so forth. So when you're looking at HR, it is about getting the people right, but it's also about following employment law.
Yeah.
The policies are the rules of the game.
Yes.
The contracts is so both sides actually know what the rules of the game are and how they should what is expected of them. And then obviously, if things go wrong, what companies need to do is actually investigate what is going wrong and nip things in the bud before it gets too far down the road and bad practice becomes the norm. So always investigate bad practice, have appraisals in place. And if you have to go down the disciplinary route, then you should do that. And I'm quite amazed how a number of companies will give a verbal warning, but they actually don't document it anywhere. They should just write it on a piece of paper. I gave a verbal warning for this reason on
Yeah.
such a date,
Yeah.
and put it in the file. So when you do the appraisal, you can bring it out and see whether that person's improved
So
on
important.
that topic, you know.
Yes.
And then obviously, if they don't improve, you can go down, you know, the written warning, which, you know, if someone has a written warning, it's got to be for a good reason, all right, and that normally stays on your file for 6 months. Then, if need be, that can go to a final written warning, which you could stay on your file for, you know, a year to 2 years
Sure.
before you go down the disciplinary stage. But certainly, statutory-wise, when you're actually looking at what is required, you know, you've really got to have sort of disciplinary procedures in place. And the rules in place. You also must have information about pensions, and obviously a grievance procedure, and also a health and safety policy in place. Now, these are things that you must have in every business.
No matter how small the business is.
Yeah,
Best
you've
to
got
get
to have
it in place.
You've got to have those in place.
Yeah.
And certainly, if you've got 5 employees on health and safety, you have to have that in writing.
Okay.
So these are things that you're required by statute, okay, by law, and then. There's 17 contractual policies that you should have in place.
Gosh.
Now, I've done your contract of employment.
Yes.
Now, this is 6 years ago. All
Yeah.
right. Could you remember any of them? Any you know?
Any of the policies?
Any of the policies you put in your contract of employment? Can you remember any?
A few. Well, yes, broadly. Social media policy.
Oh, nice. And you've been a marketeer. What do you think about that one? What do you think you are allowed to do and not allowed to do? That's a hard one. You can't even remember it, can you?
I really should read my contract
I
again.
know. But I mean, certainly on social, you know, the social policy one,
Yeah.
obviously, a company wouldn't want their staff posting derogatory comments
Yeah.
or bad pictures or anything that would actually bring the
Come
company
back to the business.
in disrepute and
Yes.
so forth
Yeah.
on social media. So
Yes.
it's really quite important. And in this day and age, we've all got mobile phones, and we're all taking pictures.
Yes.
We're all posting on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's really important that you have that policy in place to make sure that the company is not being misrepresented.
Totally.
You know, outside working hours, and
Yeah,
or even
definitely.
in working hours. You know, so you've got to have that policy in place.
Yes.
Go on, give us another one.
Social media is so public as well. I mean, I've seen real life examples of when an employee in their personal time on their personal socials had made a really not nice negative comment on something, and then it got right back to their employer, and they went through the whole disciplinary process, and they ended up, you know, being let go from that company just because, like you said, it really impacted the business, because that's exactly what you said. You're representing the business. Doesn't matter whether it's in person or on social media. So great. Another policy, working for a competitor.
Oh, that's a good
That's
one.
major conflict of interest.
That is, and it's a breach of confidentiality,
Definitely.
and confidence,
Yes.
and obviously, if you're doing that without the employer's knowledge, that is deemed as gross misconduct.
Yes.
So that, in actual fact, would go straight into a disciplinary.
Yeah.
Because in actual fact, when you have a contract of employment, it will say in your contract of employment, if it's written up properly, that you should be working solely for the company you're employed with. And should you wish to do anything outside that may be in conflict, the company should know first.
Definitely. And can you know, with all these policies, social media policy, working for competitors, we've got things in there like theft, gross misconduct, unauthorized absence, those kind of things. Can you pick and choose what you put into your contracts? Or are there certain things that you have to have in every employee contract? Or there's stuff that you would suggest that everybody has? Or all those things you would...
Really, really good question. I mean...
Because it can
First
be
of
as
all,
detailed or as little as you can make it, really,
yeah,
couldn't it?
certainly in the contract. Certainly in the contract of employment, you must have
Everything
the
in there.
disciplinary, the rules.
Yeah.
You must have the information about pensions.
Yeah.
You must have about a grievance policy. You must have about health and safety. And then obviously you've got these 17 other
Yes.
contractual policies that you should be looking into, which would be great to get it. They can be referred to in your contract of employment, but referred in more detail in your staff handbook and so
Yes.
forth. And then you've got another 44 policies.
Not to scare anyone.
No policies. You've got a number 4. So you've got 4 you need by statute.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got 17 that are contractual.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've got 44 non-contractual that are worth putting in as well.
Yes.
Because that actually gives people direction or as to what they need to do.
Yeah.
And for my advice really is really look at what you got and see if it's fit for use. I mean, what we do is we do go into companies and we audit them.
Review
and we just check to see what they've got. And the beauty of the way we operate is that and a lot of HR companies work differently, but we never tie anyone into a contract with us.
No.
So in actual fact, you pay us for the work we do.
Yeah.
All right. And if you don't need us, you don't use us. So then we're always available at the end of a phone. And sometimes it's just about asking a simple question and getting a simple answer back. But the most important thing, I think every business should make sure they've got a good contract of employment. And it's the same when you actually take on a subcontractor. You must have a subcontractor's agreement.
Yeah.
And one thing that a number of businesses don't really understand is that when they take on an apprentice, they get an apprentice agreement between them and the apprentice provider.
Yeah.
But what they need to do on behalf of their own company is create an apprentice agreement with the person who's the apprentice.
Don't just rely on the one that you've been provided by the
not by the apprentice provider.
No.
You've got to, as a company, you're taking that person on, you're giving them employment rights and so forth. So you should give them an apprentice agreement and so forth. And that protects them, that protects the company, and it gives a lot of reassurance that both of you understand actually how you should operate going into the future.
Why do you think HR, because this is all very, very important stuff, why do you think HR does fall to the bottom of the list for a lot of business owners, or even, some business owners bury their head in the sand with this kind of thing? Is it because it seems such a complicated beast, or, there's lots of legal aspects to it?
I think a lot of it is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And because business owners and business is so busy, they don't have the capacity sometimes to take on new information and understand new information. And if you think about it, people are your most important asset in the business.
Yeah.
And you really need to sort of give them guidance. So when they turn up to work, it's so simple thing is, have they got a job role? And is it clear? Have they got a job title and have they got a job role? So when they come into work, do they actually know if they're coming at 9 o'clock, what do they do?
Yeah.
Instead of first hour milling about making a cup of coffee and wondering what to, and creating the workload for them, for themselves, sort of thing. So I think what it is we're coming out of COVID, we're coming through some difficult times and so forth, and we're coming into sort of a labour market where we're not always getting the people that we want. And we haven't got the time to train them and so forth. So we're afraid to actually manage what we've already got in case they leave.
Yeah.
All right. And we're afraid of people leaving us because they think, well, we're finding it difficult to get someone coming into the business and then we'll have to train them. We haven't got the time to do that. So let's keep with what we've got.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing is we've seen a growth of disengaged people coming into the business who are already in the business, and we're finding that in actual fact that a lot of those people, all right, are underperforming.
Yeah.
And all they need to do is have a bit of clarity. And the best way to do it is sit down and have an appraisal with them and say to them, look, let's go and look at your job role again. What's in that job role? We might need to amend it. Things have changed. A lot of things have changed after COVID. But let's go through your job role and work through your week, your day.
Just make it simple as that. That's a good place to start.
And don't be afraid to put KPIs involved. Key performance indicators involved.
We like those.
Yeah, just to give direction.
Sure.
Because in actual fact, if people are performing well. Then you know it because you can measure it. You should praise them and you should reward them. Yeah. There's nothing worse than people actually doing very well and being neglected.
No.
So in actual fact, if you understand what your team are doing and you know what good performance looks like, that's great. If you also know that they're not performing, then you know in actual fact what you need to do to actually get them up to perform properly. So I think it's really important because there's nothing worse than having good performing people who are not getting praised and they're looking at people who aren't performing well,
Yeah.
and nothing's been done about them.
Yeah, where's the
you know.
value in that for them?
Well,
There's none, really.
Yeah, there's no motivation
No,
going,
absolutely
is there?
not. No, so it's providing clarity for your employees, also covering the businesses back in the event that something did happen. You've actually covered it all in your contracts and your policies, which you see time and time again that a lot of businesses just haven't, and it's too late by that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, really important stuff.
Go on, how do you define motivation?
How do I define motivation?
In business.
What, personally?
Yeah, in business. How do you see motivation in business?
I see.
I love it when we don't prep these things, so I love it. Just throw it in.
It's a vague question. How do I see motivation? For me...
what does motivation mean to you?
Well, it definitely means feeling valued. Yeah, definitely.
Like it.
100%. And we do. I think HR is all about building a culture within your business as well.
Yeah.
And a really big part of our culture is sitting down, reviewing what we're doing, what's gone well, what's not gone well, almost on a daily basis. So, and we do give credit to each other where credit's due, and we're very open with our feedback and our praise. So that's massive in terms of motivation. I also think it's important to be really passionate about what you do. I think, like you said, a lot of people are just so disengaged with their job roles, but perhaps that's just because they're not clear on what the role is. But if you're really passionate about what you do and you're doing something you love, then the motivation's kind of almost a given, just because it is, isn't it? It's what you want to do. You want to wake up and go to work. And saying that, that's a massive part of it as well. Do you wake up and dread going to work for whatever reason, because there's no clarity, because things are in chaos? Or do you wake up and you get excited to go to work, to see your team members, to get stuck in, to feel a sense of responsibility and ownership for the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? That's what motivation is to me. It's having that responsibility, the ownership for certain things. And also, as a marketing and HR agency, we are genuinely responsible for our clients, almost like their success, the customers they get in, their online presence. So I think there's a sense of accountability as well, which you have to have in your business if you want to keep your team motivated and actually making progress every day.
Do you know what? That's just such an excellent answer.
I did waffle on, I think. But...
No, that was like brilliant. That was brilliant. And in actual fact, wish I'd asked you that question at the beginning.
Oh, well, no, because you set me up all right.
No, I did think you answered that perfectly. That was just great. That was a great HR answer. And I wouldn't change anything you said there. So that was brilliant. But one of the things I think that we like doing in HR anyway is we like actually coming in and helping and getting involved.
Yes.
So we're not at the end of the phone and so forth. So if
you
there's an
are a part
issue,
of their team.
We like being part of the team,
Definitely.
but also we like educating the team
Yes.
as to what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, we're empowering the team for the next opportunity that comes along where they could do it themselves and just be guided by us.
Really good point.
And so we very much enjoy getting involved, personally in educating people, because one of the key things is if you have and I'll leave with this one. If you have a situation where you need to be investigated, that may lead to a disciplinary, it's so important to get the investigation right.
Okay.
Because you need to get all the facts on the table before you take it to disciplinary. Because if you don't, the chances are it could go to appeal.
Yeah, and it could damage your business,
Exactly.
long-term, short-term. So I think it is important, yes, there's a lot of things to HR, really important, I think, to work with someone like yourself who does it day in, day out, really cares about becoming a part of your team, just to protect yourself, to protect the business. But also it gives business owners, I feel, watching you do your HR work, you give business owners the confidence then to be the leaders that they want to be within the business, because they know that they've got things in place, the policies in place, they're really confident with that. And then they can work on being a really good leader for their employees. So I think the HR is fundamental to any business. And it's just trying to get people to understand the importance of that, I think, is what we're here to do.
HR is all about put people first.
Yeah.
Get them to perform better.
Yes.
But most important, recognise them.
Yeah.
And if they're not performing well, encourage them to do so and put a performance improvement plan in place.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I always think a performance improvement plan should be for everybody.
Yeah.
It should be inclusive, not just for those who are not performing.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, all of us, including you and me,
Yeah.
we can always do better.
We have one every year.
We do. I mean, I give you a performance improvement plan and you give me
our
one.
Reviews, our 360 reviews, our appraisals, part of our culture, and we
Yeah,
expect that.
Trouble is, I'm here and you're up here again. Right? I don't know how far I can push you further up.
I know, what else can I
improving your
improve
performance. You know what I mean? But
oh God, yeah, no.
there's always things we
on.
can improve upon.
Definitely.
Anyway. So yeah, that's really good. But
and it's never a negative to be on that kind of improvement plan. It's all because we care about our employees. We want you to be the best you can be. We see potential in you. Let's get you to where we think you can be and give you the support to do that. So never see those kind of things as a negative is my leaving point.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan. Really interesting discussion on HR. I really did enjoy that.
Well, thank you very much. So just remember, on HR, whatever you do, invest in your people, put people first, and take the time out to actually motivate them, improve them, and reward them.
Well said. Thanks, Jonathan. And thank you for watching and listening.